Welcome, everybody. It is another beautiful Thursday night. It's 8 o'clock. That means it's time for another episode of the Get Off My Lawn podcast, which is, of course, the best show that nobody's watching. So I would really love it if you would help me with that and just mash that share button. And once you've shared it with somebody, go ahead and share it with somebody else. And then when you've done that, share it again with somebody else. That would be great if you would all help with that. So, we can grow and we can get this out in front of more people. So when I say that we go live every week to tens of people, we can actually grow those tens into possibly hundreds. That'd be kind of cool, and see where we go from there. So all right, we've got some stuff happening. We're going to bring our guests in real quick, and a couple of announcements that I'd like to make before we do that real quick. Of course, make sure that you are leaving a comment out there if you're watching us live, so that we know you're there, we can see you. And also, it's great to interact. I say this almost every week, but we're better than watching a show on TV or a pre-recorded podcast or something like that, because you can yell all you want at the radio or the television screen and they can't hear you. And well, you can yell all you want at your phone or computer screen too, and we still can't hear it. But if you type in the live chat, then you do get your comments. We see them. We don't put them all on the screen, but we do read what people are saying out there. So go ahead and get those comments in, and let us know that you're out there. Also, we want you to go check out the Self-Defense Radio Network. We are very proud to be included among the shows and the podcasts that are listed there. So go to sdrn.us and check this one out, along with all the other shows too. You can find all of our back episodes and all kinds of fun stuff. And of course, you can also find us anywhere that you find audio podcasts. So whatever platform you use, whether it's Apple or Google or Spotify or SoundCloud or any of those others, the major ones, you should be able to find our show on all of them. It's just a week old. By the time it gets up there, it's never live there, of course. So tonight's episode gets put up there next week. So today is, what is this? August 18th, 2022. And so, yeah, this will air on all the podcast stuff 1 week from today, and it drops about 5 o'clock Central Time, which is, as we all know, the only time zone that's really important to people. So let's get everybody on here real quick, and we'll do that. Let's bring our guests in. So we've got a couple. We've got one new person that's never been on our show before, and just because we are a chivalrous bunch, we're going to add the lady first. So we've got Theresa Inacker, who is here on behalf of herself. And I know I'm going to screw it up, so I'm going to let you. I'll let you tell everybody all of the cool groups that you represent. But I know CFNJO, and which is what I knew I was going to screw this up. Coalition of New Jersey Firearm Owners, right?
That's right. CNJFO. Awesome. Yes.
And DC Project and all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah.
So real quick, just give us the elevator pitch, Theresa. Who are you?
I am an attorney. I live in New Jersey, and that is one of the most harshest states in the whole nation to be a gun owner. So we have a lot of experience here battling all sorts of measures. So we can talk all about what that's like, navigating all the challenges. And I'm a trustee and a volunteer with CNJFO, which does wonderful youth shoots and all kinds of great, nonprofit work. And I am the state director for the DC project here in New Jersey.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, thank you for joining us tonight and taking time out of your evening to come and hang out with us. Also from the state of New Jersey, and this is a guy that you've seen before, but not nearly enough, and I'm very proud to have him back. We've got Mr. Tony Simon from The Second Is For Everyone and diversityshoot.com and all those other things that you do. How are you?
Hey, what's going on? See what happens when you leave the door open? Anybody comes on this show.
No kidding. No, well, this next guy is living proof of that. Tony, thanks for being here, and can't wait to hear what you have to say tonight about what's happening over in your state on your side of the country. And of course, we've got one of Lincoln's two most eligible bachelors, everybody's favorite tactical teacher. Travis P11 is in the house as well. How are you, sir?
Great. Hey, thanks for leaving the door open, man. I sure appreciate that, because otherwise I wouldn't have nothing else going on tonight. So
Well, I'm glad that we can help alleviate the boredom, at least for a little bit here for you.
It's all right, man. I learn something new every time I come on the show, so thank you for the invite.
Cool. Well, and I know that that's not true because you've got papers to grade and homework to give out and children to terrorize. As a teacher, I understand. Minds to mold.
Yep.
Just those of you that, we hear teacher, and I know that there's always that one that gives all of them a bad name, right? And teachers are no different. I'm going to tell you right now that Travis is one of the good ones. We give him a lot of crap, but Travis is one of the good ones, and your kids are safe in his classroom. They are safe from him trying to inundate them with his own beliefs. He's only there to do his job, and no extra filling their head with stuff that doesn't apply to what he's teaching them.
It's true. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
And I know that most of you out there that work in education, I know that most of you that's true of you too. So we appreciate you, even though we don't say it enough. So cool. All right. I think I've kissed enough booty there in the education system.
A+ for you.
Thanks. That's what I was going for. I need that.
Tony, A++.
Whatever extra credit that I can get, I need. So.
All right.
All right. And last but certainly not least, we have our fully semi-official co-host joining us tonight. The other of Lincoln's most eligible bachelors. Defense Dad is in the house. How are you?
Oh, me.
It's you.
Gotcha. Hey, sorry I'm late, man. Just walked in the door from work.
Nobody would have known if you hadn't said that you were even late because you literally just came in as I was doing intros.
Well, so rewind and edit this then.
It kind of looked like you just came in right when you were supposed to. And
yeah,
so
that's what happened.
It's exactly what happened. Never mind him being late. He was not late. That never would happen. So, all right, let's see who's out there in the chat real quick. I've got over on the YouTube side, Kingpin and Sam of Anarchy. And of course, my beautiful bride, Sandhills Sweetheart, is in the chat. And she's over here in the producer's chair as well, making sure that I don't ramble on too much or that we don't go too far over our time. So you guys know how this works. I can't type while I'm talking and I can't talk while I'm typing. So I do the talking and she does the typing and it works out pretty well. So if there's any comments that I need to address, then she usually hollers at me and tells me about them or hands me a note or throws, a pen at me, or you never know what's going to happen. If you see things come from that side of the screen towards my head, you'll know that she's just trying to get my attention or something. So who else is out there? Justin Yermuth, Irish Wristwatcher. Simon says train. Boy, we'll just let that guy in anywhere. Jeff Moeller's out there. Chris from the 740 and Travis P11. So out there and in here. If I didn't say your name yet, it's because you're watching, you're not commenting. And I know that some of you do that as well. And that's cool. So, I've got some people that they don't want to have how do I say this? They have a Google account. They can go and watch YouTube, but they don't want to make an actual YouTube account, which is required to leave the comments because they don't want anybody tracking them or whatever. And they want to stay off all the lists they can. So whatever, dude, you know who you are. And I know you're out there and I love you. All right. So anyway, we're going to, before we jump in, hold on. Gary's out there in the chat. Okay, so real quick, let's take a break. I've got to mention our sponsor. You can see up in the top right corner, just above Theresa's head, the Open Country Firearms logo. And we are able to go live on multiple platforms because of our sponsors. Today's show is brought to you by Garrett Keel over at Open Country Firearms in Osmond, Nebraska. And Garrett's goal with Open Country was to create a great storefront and assist responsible gun owners in new and used purchases, custom orders, transfers, and more. He's always been an advocate for the Second Amendment and thought opening his own gun store would be an excellent way to help shooters get what they want and connect with new people. You can call Garrett at 402-841-0970 or visit opencountryfirearms.com. And it's not, I don't put it on the screen, but you can also find Open Country Firearms on Facebook and see some cool stuff posted up there. Of course, he can't tell you prices. You're going to have to send him a private message if you want to know the price on anything that he posts up there. But he's got some of the best deals on new and used firearms, ammo, and now suppressors as well. And all kinds of cool toys, thermal optics, just you name it. He's got some cool stuff. Go check him out. Open Country Firearms in Osmond, Nebraska. So thanks, Garrett, for helping us go live on multiple platforms tonight, and now back to me. So trying to get used to that, see if anybody laughs. Nobody's cut up yet that I've said, and now back to me. So anyway, we're going to hear a little bit about what's happening over in New Jersey, because Theresa and Tony, if you're just joining us, both live in the state of New Jersey. They have got some things that have been happening. So Theresa, we're going to let you lead off here. And again, if you would kind of just start off telling everybody what's been the status quo up in, leading up to the Bruen decision. But as a firearm owner in New Jersey, out here in Nebraska, we've got a lot of freedoms that not everybody has. And we think that, we look at the states that have more freedoms than us. And then I look over at New Jersey and I'm like, okay, shut up, John. It's not that bad. So can you kind of give everybody just a picture of what it's been like up to and before the Bruen decision?
Yes. So before Bruen, you needed to prove something called justifiable need in order to get a carry permit. And the standard was rather subjective, depending on what judge you went before or what police chief. And so it was really difficult to figure out, how do I actually prove this, right? So, the minuscule amount of permits have been issued in this state. I think it was 0.1% of all firearm owners in the state were able to obtain civilian carry permits. So Bruen busted that wide open, because that standard has been eradicated and switched us from a may issue jurisdiction, which really was a no issue, effectively, right, into a shall issue. And the state is having a lot of difficulty implementing that. They don't want to. And so we're all, we're meeting all these challenges and hurdles along the way. So I can tell you about that a little bit too. But before Bruen, chances of getting a carry permit were zero. You can transport a firearm from your home to the range or from the gun shop, but they have to be locked separate from your ammunition. So if you have a trunk, they need to be in your trunk. You're really not supposed to be able to reach into your back seat to get them. So there were a lot of restrictions. And as I'm in the process right now of applying for my permit, those restrictions still apply to me. So those restrictions have not been eradicated. And yes, so it's not very free at all. And, so only the criminals carry here. So we're trying to change that. And it's been interesting. So, I'm sure Tony can add to that, but it's hard. It's literally like a foundational principle in this state that guns are illegal, and then you yourself have to prove that you meet an exception. And so the burden is constantly on you to prove that you meet an exception, some sort of lawful exception. And up to date, those exceptions were in your home or at the range. So as you can imagine, that's pretty difficult, because it puts the burden on you to meet that exception, and you're treated like a criminal until you do. So I hope that gives you a little bit of an idea, about what the status quo was before Bruen for us. I cannot hear you.
Okay, I was wondering that.
There you
You're
are.
muted.
Somebody bumped the mute button on my mic, and it might have been me. So we're a very professional, very polished show here. Don't let what I do fool you. Every now and then the host actually can talk without getting his tang all tangled up too. So all right. So yeah, I've often scratched my head looking at what New Jersey residents have to go through. And I mean, I've got some friends in New York and Maryland that's kind of, similar over there that aren't too far away from you. That whole area of the world just seems, I wonder, how can it be legal? How can it be constitutional that a state government can require such things? So I know you feel the same way, Theresa, because I know that you work very hard in the trenches as far as the legal battles go. But I mean, is it how did it get that way? Do you know? Can you kind of shed a little light on, why is it that states like New Jersey have these laws to begin with? Was it because crime was so bad at one point?
So, I think that a lot of our gun control started during the Prohibition times, but what happened over time was that these courts, they made up rules. Judges made rules that really were never, they were never laws formulated by our legislature, but they just started applying all these very difficult rules, and it starts to develop into, well, what is this? And it really isn't connected to what your representatives are doing. And then before you know it, it just spiraled out of control. I've often asked, I've been in this fight for about 12 years now, and I've asked, like, how the heck did we get here? I even went into the archives for the state archives to try to figure out, like, did they not oppose these bills, or did they not get involved at that time? Like, didn't anybody speak up? So, and it was very difficult to find anything. So, yeah, to borrow a phrase from a friend of mine, he would say the three branches of government have conspired to deprive us of our rights. Because if you go into a state court, typically, they're political appointees here. That's how it works. And so before you know it, you have this entire political system that's really, it's got a certain sway to it. So it's very difficult to overcome that. It's really, truly entrenched. The state police set guidelines, and that we're having difficulty with that as well, about how they implement. Bruen's been out for a few months now. We know what needs to be done, and the state really hasn't changed anything. They are still trying to apply the standards that police officers must meet to qualify for a permit. They're trying to apply it to us, and so it really violates a lot of what was held in Bruen. They're still having a judge review every single application, and that violates both Heller and Bruen. So, as Justice Thomas said, it's one step too many, right? It's
Right.
shall issue, you shall do it. And then you stop that second part of the analysis. They're still having judges do this. So, there's some cases that are cropping up trying to take that down. And it's very clearly violates Bruen. But until we actively go after them in court, and that can take forever. They're not going to relinquish that control voluntarily. They're not going to do it. So they need to be ordered by court, and even then, they'll find some other way to obstruct. It's really terrible. It's absolutely terrible. I mean, there's no there's no relenting on their part to say, fine, you know what, you guys got Bruen, like, we were wrong. Here we go. Let's just do this. And they're not. They're really going kicking and screaming, making it very difficult.
Sure, which kind of begs the question too. If this does get challenged in court, when now that, like you said, some of these things violate both the Heller decision and the Bruen decision, but once those get challenged in court, then what does that landscape look like? Do we have a good chance? I know it's a long drawn out process, but by the time it gets there, then does it end there at, say, the New Jersey State Supreme Court, or is this going to have to go all the way up to SCOTUS to be slapped back down and said, look, we told you once already?
Right. I think actually we need to stay out of the state courts as much as we can and go into the federal court system. So if you go into the district court system and then you go to the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, which is what we fall under, that if they actually apply Bruen the way they were instructed to do in the decision, then it should go our way. So definitely, looking to get, the federal court system to do what it's supposed to do. But again, you can get some rogue, judges. You never know what they're going to do. Some people try to legislate from the bench, and they don't want to follow it. They don't like it, so they don't want to follow it. And it's truly a great problem for us overall when we have, judges that are not abiding by what they should be doing. I've always valued the judiciary as just like the highest of the three branches, in that, they're sort of like the firewall that keeps the other two branches in control. We have the concept of judicial review, right? The power to review actions of the president, the power to review actions of Congress. And that's amazing. But if we're not doing it right, then we really have a critical problem. So yes, we had heard, 2 permits have been issued. I just read an article in New Jersey. It's like a big deal that 2 carry permits have been issued. Okay. So, everybody's like, ooh, tell us all about it. What county was that in? And how was that process? So we can get into it. I've totally taken over the conversation here, but I've hit some hiccups in applying myself, but I can tell you about that.
That's okay. We'll come back to that and let you air your grievances, as it were. It's fine if you want to go all Jerry Stiller on everybody in
Festivus
in your
for the
state's
rest of
government.
us.
I've got a lot of problems with you people, and now you're going to hear about it.
Yes.
So yes, we'll give you that opportunity. Tony, I want to ask you then. I know that Theresa did a great job of really explaining what the landscape was like there in New Jersey, but
Ditto.
all right, I was going to say, feel free to add anything that you wanted to add to that if you like to.
Well, okay. Theresa knows the law. She knows it really well. I mean, she's a freaking subject matter expert.
Right.
And I'll tell you what dumb people think, because I'm their king. So it really comes down to
We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
I'll be in the area all day. Continue on. It really comes down to they don't want you to have a gun, and they'll look for any way to lock you up. And I'm talking like, and they overcomplicate it. They tell you no, and everyone speaks to you like you're an idiot. Even if you know the law, they'll speak to you like you're an idiot, and they'll lie to you and have no problem lying to you to your face. Right now, I've been told that the judge in Middlesex County is not signing off on any carry permits, regardless of what kind of qualifications you have, just not doing it. Bergen County, they're signing anything that comes across their desk, I'm hearing. One of the judges is going on vacation, but you only have, is it 30 days?
Yes, it's 60 days for
60
the
days.
police department and then 30 days for the court.
Yeah, well, they're going on vacation, so well, you're not getting your permit, and you're going to have to start the whole process over because he's going to be off.
Wow.
Yeah, and these are just different every county. That's what you're having to deal with. So when you have the law that ignores the law of the land, what do you do as someone who's jumped through every hoop, who's paid fees to exercise your rights, who had to make an appointment to get your digital fingerprints taken yet again for the same state, for the same purpose, and you had to schedule that and make sure it's within those days, and then you find out the guy's on vacation. Oh, and let's not forget, you have a Utah carry permit, you have a Florida carry permit, you have a Connecticut carry permit, and you just have all these permits, you've taken all these classes, but your state is ignoring the ruling of the Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm.
When is it tyranny? When does a law-abiding citizen stop abiding by the state law and abide by the federal law? Because we can't pick and choose what laws won't get us arrested.
Right.
So I just find it frustrating as a 2A advocate that introduces people to this entire world when they ask common sense questions. Like, how is that possible that the government can ignore the Supreme Court rulings? Like, what is our recourse? And when I tell them their recourse is to pretty much overthrow their party and vote for their rights instead of a party, you just run up on a whole, but the ghost of my dead grandma, who's always voted fill in the political party, will come and drag me out of the polling station if I don't vote R or D. And it's like, no, we have to make a change, and it has to be another summer like 2020, 2021 to wake people up and realize your state's working against your rights, and they're not helping. They're benefiting from it by using fear as a control tactic.
And unfortunately, how many more of those quote unquote summers of love can we survive as a people, as a nation? I mean, we didn't have terrible things happen in my area of Nebraska, but I do know that there was some stuff that went down in Omaha, the only major metro area we have, and it's just it's I don't want to see that happen again. Not only in my state, but in all 50 states. I don't want to see this happen.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, we've got a bad option on one hand and a worse option on the other, and no good choices that we get to choose out of the whole deal. But I think you hit it right on the head, Tony, that people need to wake up and stop voting based on party and start voting based on voting records or
Policy.
policy platform. If it's an unknown, somebody who's never been elected to office before, then yeah, vote on their platform. But at the same time, make sure that that candidate understands that if you don't make good on your promises, then your job is not secure here. You can be replaced too, just like we replace somebody with you. We expect to be represented. And I think that's where Americans as a whole have gotten very complacent, because it's just easier to let somebody else make those decisions. It is because I complain about this week in and week out in here about all the people who, if you bring up something that has happened, and not necessarily just to complain about Nancy Pelosi or just to complain about Mitch McConnell or whatever is the case, but specifically a conversation that has to do with us as Americans, as people. I mean, I get the deer in the headlights look, or the cow eyes that just there's no comprehension behind them of what I'm even talking about, and they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to think about it. I don't do politics. I don't watch the news. I don't want to know what's going on out there. Oh my gosh, why the heck is my gallon of milk has jumped up to $7? Why am I paying, $3.69 a gallon for my gas? And I'm happy about it because it was 4.5 out here, a month before that. I mean, how did we get here? I don't watch the news. I don't do politics. I don't go vote. I don't care about that stuff. Oh, woe is me. I don't have any money. It's such a vicious circle here. Well, do you care yet? Did you get pinched in the pocketbook hard enough this time that you start to care? Or, did the riots come too close to your neighborhood? Do you now care? I mean, what is it what's going to wake these people up?
People won't be affected until they are affected. I mean, it's that simple. People won't wake up until it touches their lives. You have the double, you have apathy. And they don't care. It's been made overly complicated and divisive. So if you believe one thing, of course, you must believe the other. And it's like, but that's not true. People have lost the ability to actually have discussions and conversations. So anything that you don't agree with turns nasty and bitter, especially online.
We've got a whole lot of, if you're not with me, then I'm against you.
Yeah. And it's like, but you and I agree on 9 out of 10 things, but it's the 10th thing that you won't even work with me with. Well, and it's the ridiculousness of it all.
It's that stuff that says, Tony, you're black, you have to believe this, this, and this, and there's no reason for you to be able to think for yourself. Theresa, you're a woman.
Let's not joke about me being black anymore. I'm back on my black privileges. After I didn't vote for Biden, they took my black card, so I'm on probation. So please don't bring it up and joke about it. I'm watching old episodes of Soul Train, and I've got Shaft queued up to watch over the weekend because I need to get my blackness back. I'm studying stuff. I got the Roots book over here.
That's awesome.
So please don't joke about me being black because I'm working my way back up. So thank you.
Tony, I got the Shaft on CD. I got Shaft CD. If you want me to mail that to you, you can rip it into your computer if you want. Get the your car. Yeah, play your car.
I'm also just learning to use the computer again because the president says I don't know how. Right. So it's going to take a while.
Do you have a plan on how to get downtown and get your driver's license?
I'm gonna have to depend on some Asian friends of mine. Okay. They're gonna take me there, and they're also gonna help me with my computer. So I have a plan to be black again by 2024.
Good.
I hope I can pull it off
for an election, so that works. That's actually on track.
Yep, I'm actually buying tickets to the BET Awards. I'm gonna go all out.
That's so awesome. Okay, for those of you that are not watching and you're listening on audio only,
You're confused right now.
You may have surmised that that Tony
okay,
has
Tony,
a lot
we're
of
friends.
melanin in his skin. That's all we're gonna say. I can't use the B word apparently because I don't want to damage his privileges. So, dude, I just for the record, and I just want to put this out there. If they would let me, they won't let me. But if I could like just deduct a couple points off my white privilege and just like send them over to you, and we could like blackwash them or blackface my white privilege in some way, then and you could use the points, I would share. I want you to know that I would do that but they won't let me.
Cool.
So,
listen, if you did that, I'd really appreciate that. For all you white people out there, if you could just Venmo me your
we'll
white
do like
privilege.
a GoFundMe, but it'll be we'll have to come up with some other name. Wow. Okay, so anyway, but back to my serious point. I mean, that's just it. Those of you that that have never been around Tony before, Tony does not let anybody tell him what to think. Tony makes his own mind up always, which is what everybody should do. But it's sad that I have to mention that because it is a novel thing anymore. But Theresa, I mean, I'm sure that you've had people tell you that because you're a woman, you have to believe this, that, or the other, and just go along to get along. And I know that that's not your way either.
No,
but it's just so sad that we have gotten to that point in our country where there's a definitely clearly drawn line, and if you're either on my side of it and it used to be, if you're not with me, you're against me. It's become, if you're not with me, then I'm against you. So you're clearly my enemy. And people, that's not the way it needs to be. Just anybody out there listening, it's probably, I'm just preaching to the converted here. But at the same time, share this with people who think like that. Let's maybe just expose how completely absurd that is, that we can still, Tony and I don't agree on everything, but Tony is a great friend to have, and I know that he's got my back, and I hope you know that I got yours. But there's things that Tony and I like to, we like to have differences. We do look a lot alike, but I've got more white in my beard, so that's how you can tell it. And he wears glasses, so that's how you tell us apart. And he's a couple inches taller. But other than that, I mean, we're pretty much the same guy. We're basically twins. But no, honestly, this is kind of gone off rails a little bit. But just the fact that this country has gotten so polarized, that is, I think, the number one reason why we are able to. Well, we're not able, but the powers that be are able to do the things that they want to do without fear of any recourse, because they have and you can say this is a conspiracy theory all you want to. That's fine, it might be, but they have done their job well for decades now in sowing discord and setting the stage to make sure that we can't get along, and we're so busy arguing over minor little details that we're completely missing the forest because we're focused on one or two individual trees. And all of a sudden they do these things that we don't understand how they can pass some of these laws. We don't understand how an omnibus bill with 3,000 plus pages gets passed when there's less than enough time to read it, and people are voting on something they haven't read. Well, we have all let it get to this point, and some of us have spoken up, but it hasn't been enough of us for long enough, loudly enough, right? So we're all in this together. We've all helped at some point to make this bed, and if you haven't, cool, if the shoe fits, wear it. But now we're all going to have to learn how to get along with people that we don't get along with to fix this. That's all there is to it.
So Theresa, oh, okay, go ahead, Tony.
No, go ahead. I'm just 100% agreeing with you. Please ask Theresa something. She's really smart, and it will blow your mind.
So Theresa, shall issue is now the thing, but what are the reasons why people are getting denied now? Or do you get a specific reason, or do they just say, sorry, you don't meet the criteria, try again? What's the reason? Do they not give a reason?
Right now, the objections are like procedural problems. The problem is there's no standard. So even amongst like state police barracks within our state, they're doing things differently. And this has been my personal experience. So there's really no standard. And I think there's still room for personal opinion of the investigating officer. And that needs to be taken out. I mean, that's the whole point of shall, right? This isn't, there's no place for your opinion in here. If you don't think that there should be many guns out there or that people should own them or people should carry them, your personal opinion has no place here. So the problem is we still have local, police chiefs, police departments, even different barracks amongst the state police, which is one entity in different locations, just procedurally doing things differently. I went yesterday with my application, my completed application, ready to go. And when you turn that in, a 60-day clock starts. So it's very important. You want that to start. And of course, they refused. The first trooper said to me, oh, we don't take those here. You have to do it online, which is patently false. It's just absolutely not true. And I said, no, you're wrong. Try again. I need to talk to somebody else. Get the second guy. And he said, well, the firearms investigating officer isn't here. We're not sure what to do. I'll call him. He calls him. The guy says, no, you can't turn this in until your fingerprints are done. Mind you, as Tony alluded to before, you can't get a fingerprint appointment in the state because they're flooded with them, right? So I scheduled mine a month ago. It's scheduled for September 2nd. Wow. He's supposed to accept my application, give me a file number essentially that I can use to match my fingerprints up. But the 60-day clock is starting, right? He's got everything else in there. He's got my qualifications. He's got my birth certificate. He's got everything he ever needed to know about me. They refused to accept my application. So
did you remind him that ignorance is no excuse for the law, Theresa?
What was that? I'm so sorry.
Did you remind them that ignorance is no excuse for the law?
Pretty much. Remind with the them. First guy, I was like, no, try again.
Yeah.
So, I think it helps. It has your occupation right on the front page. So, I have an attorney right there, and he's looking at it, and he's like, okay, maybe she does know something. So, and they were polite enough, right? So I don't see it as a substantive rejection. It's not like they're looking at it and saying, well, it's not exactly right, but procedurally, there's no standard. That's resulting in a lot of chaos in this state. And they like that, right? They like that because they want you to give up. They want to make it difficult and they want you to give up. And I read one individual had gone in there, talked to the first trooper who said, we don't do that. And he left, right? He didn't stand up and say, you're doing it wrong. So how many other people have they sent out that door before I got there? So we're working on trying to get the procedure to be standard. We also have an issue of, certain instructors there's instructors in the state who think only police should carry as well. And so they want us to do the full on FBI qualification course, the weekend shooting and all this physical work. And that bothers me in the event that we have, say, like an elderly or disabled person who would otherwise qualify. And I feel that they're being excluded. So that to me is just despicable. They have constitutional rights as well, right? And so they don't see it through that lens of the Constitution like I do. To me, the cure for everything that we have going on with our separations and our disputes and our the Constitution is the cure, right? It's there for a reason, and we need to just constantly go back to that. If we go back to the Constitution, we can rectify these things. But yeah, procedurally, there's an issue. In some places, substantively, there are, judges who, maybe are saying, well, this instructor isn't doing the right course, or this range isn't even a qualifying range. I mean, it's out of control. And it's literally like, my 8th grade Girl Scout troop that I'm a co-leader for has fewer rumors than what the what the licensing system is like here in New Jersey. I mean, it's just out of control. So very, very much procedural. We're not even at the point of the substantive denials yet. They're going to be hard pressed to do that if the person meets the criteria. Essentially, they're not alcoholic, drug abusing, criminal record, mental illness. They do check. They go back and check if you've been institutionalized. We go through a whole we do this just to get our farms purchase ID cards, by the way, guys. We already did our fingerprints. So my fingerprints have not changed since I got my purchaser's ID card. I don't know if Tony's have changed since then, probably not, but we have to go through it again, of course, at more fees. And so it's really essentially like a poll tax. If you can't afford it, you're excluded. That is despicable as well. So there are a lot of severe flaws in the system that, I think it's just going to be a battle to chip them away one by one. And, it takes a lot of money to do that, takes a lot of effort, and people don't have the patience for it because it takes years sometimes to go through a court system to get a case through. And then our governor will just turn around, and I'm sure Tony's ready for this one. We know they're going to define sensitive places. It's a matter of time. Once they start issuing permits, right? We've had 2 issued, and, there's probably been about a dozen in the state issued so far. And, we're millions of people, most densely populated state in the country here. So, that they said they were preparing for 200,000 permits to come through. So, they're going to redefine what a sensitive place is. And they're going to say, churches, schools, grocery stores, banks, playgrounds, and essentially everywhere public. And so we're going to have to battle them on that front as well. So I know people don't like lawyers as much as that maybe they don't like teachers, as we went through before, but it's really going to take a lot of work and a lot of money and really sticking together to get this done. We need to stick together. So
the problem is, again, apathy. People just don't care. And now that at least we have more gun owners. Now, doing what I do and working with the groups I work with, we have the minority gun owners that are finally coming in large numbers, which I've been doing this. I mean, I've been hosting diversity shoots since 2015, but the numbers in 2020, 2021, and 2022 of minorities coming in and getting involved, and then they get hit with the 1-2 of, yeah, you live in Jersey. Let me explain something. There is no state Second Amendment. You own firearms through exemptions, not because there's something written that you're supposed to own firearms in New Jersey. And the other thing is, the state will violate its own laws to avoid giving you a firearms ID card, to avoid giving you a permit to carry. And when we talk about it, and I point out the racist history of gun control and how it goes in this state and how it was used to make sure Black people were disarmed, and the excuses that they use to disarm Black people. And they look at me like, I'm like, that's the party that you vote for every time. That's the party whose leverage you pull. That's the party who your Republican lawmakers sell out to in the state of New Jersey. So no one gets a pass because everybody wants me to rah, sis, boom, bah for the Republican Party. But the Republican Party is pretty much weak as water in this state when it comes to your Second Amendment rights. They're pathetic. So if you don't fight for it during your primaries, which I remind people of primary voting and how important it is every year, they won't do it. I've worked the election polls for over 20 years. And I've worked primaries where I was in a district with almost 600 people, 25 people voted in my district.
Wow.
25 people. So when I tell you your vote is important in a primary, think about it this way. You can get 25 friends together, right? You could take a district out. You could swing a district. And actually, you didn't need 25 people because it was still split. But you know what I mean. So I'm like, politically, your power rests in the primaries to choose who's going to run. And we don't do it because it's not interesting. The very same people that tells us, I'm going to vote from the rooftops, shoot me a red coat. I'm like, hey, you won't even fill out an absentee ballot. You're not climbing on a roof. You're not shooting a red coat. You're not doing any of that. You don't even go to the range. You know what I mean? You probably couldn't hit a red coat in your car. So it's just all a lot of posing and online noise when it needs to be activity that we all can do. Phone calls, emails. I'm not asking you to march on the Capitol because, well, no one shows up. We've done that. We'll see. I'll see Theresa again in person. Hey, hi, it's us and 199 other people, and that's about it. And then the comment section in our Facebook and Instagram posts is everybody else wishing they could be there, but there was a game on television. But it was always something more important than their rights. That's how we ended up here. Now, am I preaching to you that you need to get involved? Yes. Why? Because this is the same civil rights struggle Martin Luther King Jr. fought. Same government, same freedoms they're denying people. And everyone wants to think they're a hero in their own movie. We're in the middle of a civil rights movement right now. What are you doing? How are you fighting it? Because if you're not participating at all, well, you're not participating at all. You're not the hero you think you are. All the people, oh, I wish I could go back. If I was back in that day, you would be doing exactly what you're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
If you were in Selma, if you were at the bus boycott.
See, the thing is, though, if they could go back, they probably would do a little more because they already know the outcome. They already know which side wins. So
would they know?
Well, but they're not sticking their neck out as far because they know they come out the other side okay.
Yeah.
Whereas right now it's unknown. If I stick my neck out, am I going to get beat down? You know,
what's going to happen if you make a phone call? Nothing is going to happen. If you're a grown ass man or woman right now and your name is not on the list, what the hell have you done with your life?
Right.
If you never stood up for anything, what have you done with your life? Let me explain what happened if they got into the hot tub time machine and went back to help Martin Luther King Jr. fight for rights. They'd be buying Babe Ruth rookie cards and storing them away. They'd be buying Spider-Man #1s. They'd be too busy to show up in D.C. for the I Have a Dream speech because they'd get Babe Ruth to sign up baseball or something that day. That's what they do. There's a lot of people that do a lot of this and zero work. Oh, I wish I could have been there. Dude, it takes call Cory Booker, Senator Cory Booker. He's 100% against your right to bear arms, but call him anyway so he doesn't think he has a buy, that he doesn't have overall approval from the state. Call Mendez, the piece of human garbage he is, and tell him that you want to fight for your Second Amendment rights and want him to vote no in the upcoming assault war. It makes no difference if they're going to vote against you. Put in work as a citizen. These are things people fought and died for in other countries. Don't tell me thank you for your service, bro, if you're not using anything that the people out there fought for you to have. You're allowing it all to slip through your fingers through just apathy. You don't care. Oh, it's way too much trouble to make a phone call, to send an email. I have to listen to C-SPAN? No, you don't. No, you don't. You just have to write a letter. And it's like, I love my country, dude. That's why I signed up at 17 years old to be a part of its defense. I love my country. That's why for the last 20 years, I've worked on the voting process that allow people to exercise those rights. I love my country. That's why I got involved in the Second Amendment advocacy, to try to help people and help this movement grow, because I'm watching it being killed through a culture war on one side and a political war on the other. And gun owners themselves are bickering among themselves. And in a state where we have over 1 million firearms ID cards out there, there should be a huge ass movement. There should be fear. We should be able to change the political landscape just by making gun control a poison and the 2A apolitical. That's what we should do. That should be our goal, just to take that off the list. And we won't work together and do it, and people don't want to be involved in it, and it's just really frustrating. And if you saw my 16-minute curse-filled rant, you actually saw a brother break for a little minute to get word out of how frustrating it is as somebody that puts, and I'm not even going to go woe is me, I'm just talking about my passion for it. We put a lot of work in. All of us do. We go places, we do things. I'm wearing this shirt right now for NJ SafeCon, where Theresa was a speaker at the last one. Her and Melissa Deeney pretty much put on, I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes of the most intelligent conversation I've heard in the 2A community. And it was awesome because these women were talking about how to make a difference, how to make a change, and how to make it better. And it should be required listening. But people would rather talk about the new shiny thing, the new gun that came out, and also ignore the fact that you have ranges pushing training right now that's not even required for their CCW, but they're booking things months out, paying exorbitant amounts of money for it. And it's like people are more interested in getting paid than getting progress.
Mhm.
And that's a shame. So I'm sorry. Let me climb off the soapbox. I apologize for bogarting
That's
everybody.
why I brought you here, man. That's why I invited you, so that you'd have a chance to be on the soapbox. Do not apologize for that ever. Not on my show. We don't do apologies here. Okay, we offer no apologies.
All right. I regret nothing.
There you go. Perfect. G-Webs he's got some good questions. I don't know if we'll have time to get you to weigh in on all of them, but here's one that kind of just rolls right into what you two have been saying here. What would the result of out-of-state pressure give to states like New Jersey? What if campaigns or projects were focused on letting anti-rights reps know that non-residents have interests in New Jersey?
I can take this one if you want, Tony. It's interesting when I have an opportunity to go to another state to talk or meet with groups. I actually warn them and say, just telling us, oh, just move, or that's your own fault because you voted for it. We try to caution them with that and say, what happens here doesn't stay here. A lot of these cockamamie ideas that we have for all these various, we're talking smart guns and, micro stamping. I mean, we battle these bills every year. They're up here in New Jersey, and these ideas will spread. We also have lawsuits by the Attorney General against manufacturers for advertising. That's saying that by saying if you use a firearm that you're safer, that is false advertising. They're suing them. So now the First Amendment is starting to get dragged into this. The 3D printing issue in New Jersey, that dragging the First Amendment into it. So we try to caution the other states and say, we want you to wake up too, and don't look at us and say, aha, you're the laughing stock, because these ideas will spread. There's somebody in your states in, this insidious, it's just a very insidious movement, and they are looking and they're getting these ideas from people like this, and eventually it will spread to your states. So I think it is helpful to have, the concern and the awareness from people in other states. I don't know how you can really pressure them other than when you meet with your own legislators, like in the DC project. This is what we do, right? We're doing it on the state level here in New Jersey. We meet with everyone. It's nonpartisan, and we're going to DC in a couple of weeks, and we'll be meeting with people. And of course, I've already got a request out to Cory Booker's office, Tony, to try to meet with somebody there. But I know what his stance is, but he also needs to know what my stance is, and he needs to know what the women in this state, what our stance is on gun ownership. So we want you to meet with your folks. If your senators and your representatives are all on your side, go there and thank them for that, because you know what? It takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of guts for them to stand up for these things on the positive side. And I think that we do need to say thank you to them when they do support something. So, that sort of thing can all be going on concurrently. And if it doesn't get stopped here, it'll just spread, because they love to spread these stupid ideas everywhere else. So it was a great question.
No, it really is. And I before you comment too, I just wanted to throw in there that whether he likes it or not, Senator Booker represents you. He represents the whole state of New Jersey and everybody who lives there.
Yep. I called his office when he's on the Judiciary Committee, and when Chipman was up for he was being nominated to be director of the ATF. I called his office like every week, saying I'm very concerned about this. I'm not comfortable with this. And people are like, why bother? And this is part of the apathy thing too, is that when I choose to do that. I choose to take action because my conscience is clear. This is not just my right. When I'm dead and gone, this right should exist for the people who come after us. Mm-hmm. And we are the custodians of it. It's not for us to give it away, and we have to do what we have to do to protect it. So I know that I do call, and people, even in my own state and even in our own community, right, Tony? People will say, why bother? Cory Booker, he's not going to listen to you. Why bother? Well, maybe if enough of us actually did it, they might start listening, or at least it might make them uncomfortable in knowing that they are not as solid as they think that they are in their position. So I do make those phone calls, and I cherish it. I really do. I think that's what we have to do. And we have to have those conversations and actually to educate them. Some of the mushy ones, a lot of Republicans are mushy. But we meet with everybody here, and it's, can I be a resource for you? If you don't understand what this means or what the impact is, can I explain it to you? I've had to have phone calls with assembly people here who propose these crazy things. And I said, do you want to know what the impact is of this? Or, one time there was a FID, there was a whole issue about a NICS checks between, family members. So if you wanted to sell a firearm to your brother or sell a firearm to a close family member, at present, we don't have to do an actual NICS check for that. It's an exemption, but we do have to do it on private transfers between other people. So if Tony and I are selling firearm, I have to check his FID, if it, that all this sort of stuff. And we still have to do a NICS check. In the past, we didn't have to do that. And so they incrementally start chipping away. This bill was up to, again, exempt this whole thing between even, a husband and a wife. So it's as crazy as that sounds. And I called her and she said, well, this is because we think people need to have some sort of background check beforehand. And I said, they still have to have a firearms purchase ID card in New Jersey to even do this process. And she said, I didn't know that. I said, well, then you really have no business making another law on top of another law if you don't understand the mere basics about it. So we try to say, look, if these kind of bills come up, call us as a resource and we can explain to you how it actually works, because they are writing bills about things that they know nothing about. I mean, and Tony can tell you, they know nothing about it, and they're writing more and more laws. So yeah, it matters. It matters to call. You really do, even to the people like Cory Booker, because really this is about my action. I can't use him as an excuse for inactivity. I can't use him as an excuse for being lazy about our rights. Like, it's just, I don't know. I'm not wired that way.
Well,
so
do you know why? Do you know what being lazy or apathetic gets you? Cory Booker.
Yeah.
Yes.
It does.
I mean, just point that out to people. We've done lazy. We've tried to not care, and look what it's gotten us. So now we've got 10 times more work to do to dig back out of this hole that we let ourselves get dug into, right?
It's really difficult because people have to ask me, oh, Tony, are you going to testify again? Okay, you've heard how I feel and passionate I am. And then to go in a room full of people that are willfully ignorant.
Yeah.
It takes a lot out of you, because you have to try to be constructive and not call people names, really. I mean, they banned 5.7 armor piercing 5.7 ammo that's already banned federally, and they did not know it. And when we said, why are you pushing through legislations already banned? The Republicans said, what's the problem with it since it's already banned? And I'm like, you empty-headed dullard. Passing a law just to say you passed a law is useless. Yeah. It's an abuse of power and a waste of everyone's time. But how do I explain this to a grown-ass man? It's like, then you're either pretending you don't know this, or you really are that effing stupid. And I'm trying not to curse on mic in front of freaking, the assembly. And it's like, because you look at it and you go, either you are a fool or you think I am one. How do I not be insulted by this mere dumbass question that you asked? And I'm trying to keep United States Marine in me from coming out and giving him the knife hand and telling him to go on F himself. And it's like, and after it was over and everything was said and done, the assembly, some of them came up and wanted to shake my hand and tell me how they didn't know such and such, but they voted against my rights anyway.
Yeah.
And it's like, don't touch me, you scumbag. And I pray a lot. I'm a religious, I'm Christian. And I went to the Martin Luther King Jr. Center in Atlanta when I was down there. In my prayer, I prayed. I went out in the yard underneath the trees out there in front of this building right across the street from the church that he grew up in and preached at. And I'm like, how? How did you know you're fighting a good fight of just human decency and equality for other people and watch people vote against it knowing that you're a human being just like them and should have the same rights? And when you're in a room with people voting against your civil rights because they can, because their boss told them to, so they can keep this crappy ass state level assembly job and get the kickbacks they have, and you're like, how are you doing this and looking yourself in the mirror? Like you're garbage. You're human garbage. So yeah, so when you guys ask me, am I going to speak at Trenton in front of the Assembly or Senate, and I'm like, they're garbage to me. These people are actually voting against your civil rights. And remember, that bumper sticker stuff we say is not really bumper sticker. It is. They take the Second Amendment. They can take them all. You can be right back to worse than you were before. Pick the minority. Pick the minority that you could be or take the place of. The right that they won't let you express. You think it's bad now that you have to use pronouns that you don't understand. I'm like, what if they start locking you up for it? What if you lose your job because you didn't call someone a cat because they identify as one? Because we're living in the age of the emperor's new clothes at this point.
Well, remember, sorry to cut in, but there are states that is the thing. You can be locked up or have charges pressed against you if you refuse to call someone by what they identify as. So, it's not on the other coast from you, but you know what I'm saying.
But it's going to get worse if we don't do something about it. And it's not standing up against people feeling this. It's actual rights, the ability to defend yourself when these people go, we're going to come to your house and drag you out, separate you from your wife and kids. And you don't want to go because, the first person that brings up Hitler loses the argument. Hitler isn't the only time people got locked up in camps. There was this country, what was the name? Oh, America, that did that to Germans and Japanese Americans in this country. And people were talking about it and hinting at it after 9/11 with Muslims. So don't think you can't be one or two tragedies away from having camps set up again for someone. Might not be your ethnicity, religion, or even political background, but it could be someone. Second Amendment stops that from happening, or at least makes them fear it.
Every time we talk about the people that are elected to office that want to stay in office, and they decide that somehow we have this tendency, both as the elected and the people who vote, we tend to think that an elected official somehow that makes them like, we're all right here, and then the elected person, the senator, whoever, is up here, and they're not. They're the same as us because they are us. They're regular people before they get elected, right? So the fact that they have that office with their name above the door doesn't mean that they're any better than any other human being in that building or in their state or on this planet. But the thing is that they're not the only ones that sometimes fall into thinking that way. I think a lot of the general population falls into thinking that way as well. So all of a sudden, oh, well, they're senators, they're the governor, they're whoever, and they are above me because they're in this position of power that I don't possess. And that makes it very easy to fall further into the trap of, they have power, I don't have power, therefore I must do what they tell me, right? I mean, and that we know that's not true, because the people have the power, right? So it always makes me think of that scene in what's the movie, not Ants, A Bug's Life, where the grasshopper is yelling at the other grasshopper saying, if those ants ever figured out that they don't need us to survive, then our cushy way of life is over. So we can't let them figure out that they don't need us and that they could do just fine without us. We've got to maintain our reign of power over them. And that's exactly what I see in state capitals and the US Congress and even, governor's mansions in the White House. I mean, it's one of those things where, heaven forbid the little people, the common people, figure out that we don't actually have a king, and that the king can be replaced. And it would completely hit the fan if some little boy in the parade would point at the emperor and say he's naked, right? I mean, you get beat down for telling the truth, and we do that here sometimes. I know that sometimes people get offended, but I am of the mindset that only the female people can have the babies. I'm sorry if anybody I'm not sorry. We offer no apologies here. That's just the way that the biology works, kids. When people dig up a 1,000-year-old skeleton, they don't see pronouns or anything else, but they can still tell if that was a male or a female by the bone structure, because they are different, because men and women are supposed to be different, and we can celebrate that. There's a great thing that we're different from each other, right? That's so awesome. Why do we want to take that away from people? It makes no sense to me. But it's probably good that not everybody on the planet thinks the way that I do, but I wish that a few more of them thought the way that the 5 of us do, because the world would get along with each other a lot better. And that, I tell you what, if we all got along, we're the ants right now, kids. If we all, not only do we figure out we don't need them, but if we all got along with each other, and the black ants and the red ants and the brown ants and all the white ants, and everybody figured out that they can live in harmony in one anthill together, they don't have to fight with each other, then the grasshoppers have no chance. And then there's a lot of people out of business, and they can't have that.
We have a system in place that allows us to disagree and vote on things, as long as we all are able to exercise these rights. But most people have given up because they make it boring. They made it boring. They made it divisive.
Mm-hmm.
They put it on television so you could watch. But man, if your TV is ever stuck on C-SPAN, you will throw it out the window rather than leave it on. You'd rather watch the Weather Channel than C-SPAN. So yes, they've made it just horrible, and try to make it understand that our forefathers didn't have the education. Didn't have the level of education that we think we have. Mm-hmm. Like, many of them were illiterate, but they knew things, and they were passionate about politics, and they talked about it down at the taverns, and they talked about it in the town halls, and they knew who was running, and they were passionate about everything, because that affected how they got paid, how they ate, and they knew all politics were local. Mm-hmm. And they were active on that scene. And we've thrown all of that away. We don't know who our local representative is. I worked in Trenton at the election polls. 250,000 people supposedly live in Trenton. 250,000 people live in Trenton. I went to the town's city hall. In the room where they have the meeting, they don't have 50 chairs in the back, because we had to go there for training for the election every couple of years. We had to get the training, and in Trenton, that's where it was. In Mercer County, that's where the training was. I'm sitting in the back in the last row, and between the seat, you could see like dust and spider webs, because no one ever sits there. They don't even clean those seats because, well, again, no one's ever at the town hall meeting or city hall meeting. So if you're not doing that, if in a city of almost 250,000 people, people aren't showing up in a room of 50 chairs, that tells you how little people are politically active in the state capital, in the capital city. So, dude, when I watch Virginia raise up and start pushing back with 2A sanctuaries, it was awesome, because you were watching town halls and county meetings just packed with citizens. And when I saw my home county get packed up, I was like, yo, that was my mom's old high school, yo. And that place was packed. And I'm like, I can't get people to show up here in Jersey, man, with free pizza, free pizza and door prizes, man. It's like, it's really the apathy is real, man. People just, it's boring to them until it's your bullet scored. Yeah, go ahead.
It's not only the people, you were talking about going and testifying in Trenton, but it's not only the people that make up the assembly or the state senate or whatever that are willfully ignorant. I mean, there's a lot of willful ignorance and willful apathy that just, it's become epidemic. I think it's spread everywhere into a lot of people, which is, we talk about this at length, sometimes ad nauseum. How do we spark that? How do we spark the people to care? But Tony, I think you're right. People don't care until they have to care. So, it's until it affects them, it doesn't affect them, I think is how you said that. And I think you're 100% right there. So I think some of us have to just resign ourselves to the fact that not everybody is going to care, and it's never going to happen. By the time everybody cares, it's too late. I mean, we've already gone past the point of no return usually. So we've seen that in a lot of different scenarios, right? But at any rate, it's there's got to be a way to get some people to wake up. I'm not smart enough to come up with what it is. So I did have one other question that I wanted to pull up here, and I can't remember where it was now because I didn't mark it. So yeah, I'm not going to find that. So here's the thing. Children, I'm seeing the comments. Let's not fight. Same team, guys. Same team. Okay. Anyway, I do want to talk just a little bit before we wrap things up about what you both think the Bruen decision. Ultimately, I know it may be a long, hard journey and a hard-fought battle. Of course, not with bullets, but with a hard-fought legal battle, I should say, in the trenches in court. But overall, what do you think that Bruen is going to mean across the nation? What's going to happen? We've danced around. We never explained at the beginning of the show the difference between a shall issue state and a may issue state. But overall, Theresa, we'll let you go first again. What do you foresee based on what you've seen there in Jersey and across the nation? Because I know you do a lot of traveling to other states as well. What do you think that Bruen is going to mean when it's all said and done and the dust kind of settles?
I'm happy to answer this question. And Bruen is like this wonderful tool that we now have to apply to any Second Amendment related law, essentially. So we could really see the Bruen standard be applied to everything. I mean, just everything is on the table now. So even though the context was in a New York state, a good cause, that kind of context, Justice Thomas wrote the decision as such to set a standard that had never really been clarified before and maybe was a little bit muddled from Heller. And the standard is, what was the text, the history, the tradition, what was going on at the time of the adoption of the Second Amendment, essentially. So what were they doing then? So we can visit magazine limits, right? We can visit all sorts of things now, not just carry. So carry is really only the beginning. And I think that this is the beauty of it. It is a legacy, it's this beautiful legacy that will carry on long after we're all gone. So this takes a long time to get more cases up there. And even if they, stack the courts and all that sort of thing, it takes a long time. So it is a beautiful tool that we have to apply to every other context. You're going to see the magazine challenges they were remanded back down. New Jersey we have a 10-round magazine limit here. And there was a petition basically for the Supreme Court to hear that. The Supreme Court, granted that petition to hear it, but in this procedural way that they said we're remanding it back down to the Third Circuit for them to address it now that you have the standard in Bruen. Basically, the court said you didn't know what to do before, or whatever you did was wrong. So now we want you to take our instruction manual, which is Bruen, and apply it. And that is a It is a text as informed by history standard, which is incredible for for us, because it actually takes away, and they went at great lengths to write about this, it takes away this idea that the government could merely say that there is some public interest that supports passing this law. Well, because people feel uncomfortable around guns, it's in the public interest to ban them, right? So that's the kind of stuff that we were getting, and now that won't stand anymore. They're saying that public interest standard, that concept, is not enough. It's not strong enough for government to restrict your rights. So this was a win, an absolute win for us, and we haven't even seen the fruits of it yet, trust me. So I can't wait to see what happens, and I think everything's on the table now to be challenged, and it'll be up to the courts to do the right thing and follow the manual that was written out in Bruen for them what to do. Essentially, they were saying there were 2 steps before to see what's going on, and Justice Thomas literally said that's 1 step too many. It's a stop. Just stop right there. Let's rule in favor of the individual. So it's really a huge victory. It's going to apply to everything, and it's beautiful. It really is. I think we've yet to see what the fruits are going to be from that.
That's awesome. Very, very cool.
All
right.
I think these people, I think what'll happen, and I'm hoping it's building upon what Theresa said. I really, they can't quit. They don't know how to quit while they're already behind. Yeah. And what they're going to do is keep trying to put this buts and keep trying to do it. And what you're going to do is make it more and more explicit. You're going to lose more and more cases to the point that, the next ruling is going to be Second Amendment for dummies. And they're just going to have to print it all out for you. And you're going to lose the NFA. You're going to lose all that stuff because it's like you keep pushing this and you're not going to win because it's already been ruled on. And it will happen again. I mean, because New York is trying to do it. The horseshoe jackass in Trenton has got something up his hat. And California, they're doing their thing. And it's like, y'all going to make them, what was it called? Fast track something straight to the Supreme Court. And they're going to break your little tiny anti-gun freedom hating hearts. And it's going to be huge. And then what are you going to do? Because, and then really truthfully, and I want her to say this, both parties want gun control because it allows you to blow, I think, what is it, the dog whistle or whatever? Anyway, it allows them to act like they're fighting for something without doing anything and pander to their base every election. So I don't have to do anything. You won't pay attention to anything because I have these certain keywords I can say that will make you, it's your Niagara Falls. And all of a sudden you'll forget your togetherness and just march towards party lines. And the minute that ruling comes down and it just goes, Second Amendment is an individual right to bear arms against a tyrannical. Somebody wrote that somewhere. It's going to just upset
familiar.
the whole
I think I've read it.
Yeah. So that's what I think is going to happen. I think they're going to keep making it worse and they're going to hold bigger and it's going to collapse on them. It swung far enough the other way, dude. They've had the assault weapons ban. It showed no, what did the FBI say? Is really, they couldn't find it where it had an effect.
Yeah, no discernible effect or something like that.
Yeah. And I'm like, so you had this for a decade. You proposed the same exact thing with no sunset, but it didn't work.
Well, and the sunset, and I was young and in that stage of my life where I didn't care. I didn't watch the news or do politics either then. So correct me if I'm wrong, those of you that remember the original 94 assault weapons ban, but the only reason that even passed in the first place was because there was a sunset, correct? That was kind of the concession that Joe Biden claims that he got that done, so that Biden and company, they had to concede and put the sunset in if they even wanted that to get passed as an experiment, the way that I understand it. And of course, at the end of the 10 years, the experiment showed that, this didn't seem to have made any difference. So there's no reason to renew it.
I have no idea, and I'm glad it did have a sunset because if we had to really depend on the Republican Party to actively do something to get rid of it, we still may be having 10 or 15 round magazines nationwide.
Oh,
sorry. No party can be trusted with your civil rights. You have to take that on yourself because they're willing to sell you out. You have no idea what their motivations are. Their motivations are not your motivations.
Well, and I know that you say this a lot, but I think that we would do well to have everybody, not just here in the panel and not just out there in the chat, but anybody who sees or listens to this, no matter how far down the road, if if this 5 years from now you find this in the year 2027, and if it's not mainstream at that point, then make it mainstream. But we need to start right now making sure that everybody understands that our Second Amendment protected rights are civil rights. Our right to keep and bear arms, our right to defend ourselves from either a low-level thug mugger or a tyrannical government or anything in between. And that tyrannical government could be ours, it could be China's, it could be fill in the blank country that decides that they want to grow bigger than their britches and try and invade us at any point. Yeah, I mean, we've discussed this at large, that the reason why the Japanese didn't invade the American mainland in World War II was because there's a rifle behind every blade of grass here. We've got more rifles now than we've ever had, right? So that problem has only multiplied for foreign powers that would think about invading. But just like everything else, your civil rights, your constitutionally protected rights, your natural born rights, whatever you want to say, because I understand that people will it'll bug them when I say that the Second Amendment's a civil right and not a natural born right, but it's both, right? If you don't look at it as your civil right, then you're destined to fail the battle, because we need to make people look at gun control the same way they look at Jim Crow. It should be equal to Jim Crow laws, and saying that, hey, this was something that they got wrong. Eventually, enough people pulled their heads out and fixed it. The Roe versus Wade Supreme Court recently said this is something that they got wrong, and in my opinion, they got it right this time. They pulled their heads out and they fixed it. And the gun control thing needs to be the same way, but that only happens if we pressure them, tell them to pull their heads out and fix it. Simple as that. And make sure they understand that we're not going to put up with it. And people, you have that right. You have the right to, and be firm, be polite, but be firm when you contact those senators, those representatives, those city councilmen, county commissioners, whatever you have, and let them know that they represent you. You would sure appreciate some representation here, or otherwise.
Can I say something real quick, because all of us speak a lot,
Yeah,
and a lot of people don't, and they have this fear that they're going to somehow get into a debate with their representative over the phone, or someone's going to be asking them 20 questions, and they don't think they'll be equipped to actually answer those questions. For the most part, none of these people are going to answer your questions. They're interns, or they're just paid public servants, and they're going to write down, you said no to gun control. It's not as terrifying as you think. The first time I spoke, I remember being so nervous. The only thing I remember is I don't remember what I said. That's what I remember. Luckily, somebody videoed it, but I mean, I'm telling you, it's not as nerve-wracking as you're probably making it out in your head to be. Make that move. And it doesn't even have to be a lot of explanations. The shorter you keep it, the better it is. If you can get it down, how about this? Have as few words in that as there is in the Second Amendment.
27 words.
There you go.
But here's the thing. You don't have to say a word. You can go to your state capitol and sit in that gallery, or just stand, if you put enough bodies in the hallways, and if nothing bad happens, no fights break out or anything like that, you don't have to say a word. Just let your presence speak for itself, because just showing up is 90% of the battle. And anybody who's ever been to a committee hearing or an actual Senate debate or House debate or what have you on the big chamber, if you're allowed in that gallery, I mean, just the fact that you can be there and people can look up and see how many people care enough about this issue. I mean, if they could fill all those seats that are full of cobwebs with butts and knock all the dust off of them consistently, that would speak so much louder than one or two people coming in with a polished testimony. It really does. And you don't have to say a word. Now, here's the thing. You're going to have to probably take some time off work or skip that ball game on TV or miss an episode of a Seinfeld rerun or something. But you're going to have to actually show up. That's true. But you don't have to say anything. You don't have to be the one to testify. You just have to let the people that are testifying and the people that bring these good bills, you show up and let them know that you support them. And maybe it's less nerve-wracking for the people that do testify, knowing that there's 300 people behind them in the gallery that are silently cheering them on, right? So,
or not so silently.
Well, I don't know how it is in every state capital, but if you're in the gallery in the Nebraska Capitol, you can't make a sound.
Oh, no, you couldn't in Jersey either, but they cheered. And also go in with a strategy, man. Theresa and the DC project were teal. So there's an actual exactly. There's a visual representation of your crew. And that's awesome. Education, not legislation.
Yep. Right. Education over legislation. Yep.
There you go. I kind of sort of got it right.
You got it.
So my whole thing is, where the colors, a reason to join your local Second Amendment group.
Yeah.
2 reasons, actually. First reason, you get to meet people like yourself that want to make a difference. All right. So now you have a new circle of friends. The other thing is, you guys can figure out. We roll in, we're all wearing this color. I think in Jersey, we wore royal blue. CNJFO made up T-shirts and they had royal blue. I had our T-shirts 2A4E that said that gun control equals racism. That was in royal blue. I don't get paid on those shirts. Those shirts get shipped from my T-shirt guy at cost $10 because it's called a rally shirt. We want you to wear it to events so you all rolling in with the same color on like Mom's Demand does, because this whole thing is a culture war. It's on multiple levels, guerrilla marketing and everything else. The reason you join local groups is so you can all line up together. It doesn't help if you come in dressed in all your plaid and your orange, and it's an optics thing. I'm not saying you shouldn't want to rock your plaid or your orange, but it is optics. And work together and you can present a united front, even if you don't agree on everything. Even if you're our biggest FUD ever, you can still wear the same shirts and stand together, and it looks like you're unified, because they're still going to take photos. They might not listen to your testimony. Local media, at least in Jersey, walk out of the room before we ever get to testify. None of us actually are on the news. They listen to the Mom's Demand people. They listen to the anti-gun politicians. Then they pack everything up and leave. And then they allow us 200 to 300 people to testify.
Yeah.
After they listen to the first 20 anti-gun people. So join your local Second Amendment group. And also, if you hate the large Second Amendment groups nationwide, you don't trust them and don't think they have your interest at heart, then don't. But if you want to help, donate to an organization like DC Project or CNJFO in states that are actually in the fight. I mean, there's ways you can help, and it doesn't have to break the bank. It's ways you can not live in Jersey and help the fight in Jersey, not live in Nebraska and help the fight in Nebraska. I heard NFOA.
Yeah.
Allows you to join, and they don't even charge like a fee. But you can donate money to them and help them in the fight.
We'll take the money, but we don't require it to be a member. We don't require you to be Nebraskan to be a member either. You just, here in about another month, when I run for my position on the board, Theresa and Tony don't get to vote for me. Hopefully Travis and Defense Dad will, but I don't ask them who they vote for, because that's why you didn't vote for me last time, because I refused to pay. But in all honesty, if you're a Nebraskan and you're watching right now or listening, go to nebraskafirearms.org and sign up to be a member, and then the next step, we're trying to streamline things. We're trying to make it easier and better on the website, the forum, and all that. But for now, once you're a member, then send your username and your address off to admin@nebraskafirearms.org. Let them know that you want full member status. They'll vet your address, make sure you really do live in Nebraska. And then here in another month or month and a half or so, we will have an election of board members. You'll get to vote for the 7 people you want to see on the board. I'd love to be one of them again. So there's my little quick campaign pitch. That's about as good as it gets. So that'll be happening here in weeks to come. It should be, I want to say, late September, early October is when the election will be held, and then we'll start the term over December 1st. So
I'll vote for you if you fly me out again and have Defense Dad work the grill.
He's a pretty good grill meister, I'll tell you that much.
Oh yeah,
that was a hot day, I'll tell you that.
Now,
I was like, look, he looks so hot outside cooking those hamburgers, but I think I'll stay on the other side of this glass and drink this cola.
Now you
fight that good fight, buddy.
We probably won't fly you back out here. You'll probably have to travel on your own dime. But our annual members meeting is coming up this year. We're doing it in December. We have Ed Monk scheduled to come out and talk, so that'll be fun. Can't wait to hear some stuff from him. All right, so we're gonna wrap things up and give everybody a chance to, of course, any shameless plugs and whatnot. Before we do that, Travis or Defense Dad, any comments or questions that either of you had for Theresa or Tony before we wrap things up?
No,
I
I
think
questions answered. I'm good. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm glad Theresa she answered the question before I can ask it, because I originally was going to ask if they got all the denying the permits, if she felt that they were going to do like California does and just expand all those places where you can't carry, and she answered it before I could even ask it.
Of course, I mean, yeah, that's unfortunately it's something that they can try at least as a stall tactic until the Supreme Court says nice try, but no. So, but that would be great, because if New York, New Jersey, California would get their prohibited places like that slapped down, and guess what? We've got the same list here. Mm-hmm. And a lot of those would get slapped down too, because it's weird going across the state line and being legal and still carrying in church, because I can't do it in my state. And it feels weird sitting in a pew knowing that, hey, I didn't take this off before I came in, but I'm not breaking a law. I'm still on the right side of the law. If anything happened in church today, I'm better prepared to deal with it than in my own home state. And it just doesn't feel right to feel that way, that I'm better prepared in the next state over than I am in my own. And I know you guys are that way too. There's places that you can carry that aren't your state, that where you can't even carry in your own state, and it's pathetic. So, and then they tell you that they want to, they want to see their state's population grow, not shrink, but they don't want to treat you like first class citizens. So all right, we will let everybody. I see your question out there, but my producer is telling me that I need to wrap things up if I want to stay married. So she's gonna pull rank on you, G. I'm sorry. I'm gonna do this. I would love it if Theresa and Tony, if you would, when you get a chance after this kind of renders, feel free to go back in the comments, and if you just kind of copy and paste between Facebook and YouTube both, and just kind of answer this. But G wants to know, if you were promoted to the 5-star general of the Second Amendment for 5 years, how would you use the resources that are out there today, and what would you attempt to accomplish? And I would love to know those answers, but unfortunately, my producer says that I'm not going to give you the chance to answer tonight. So, but I would love those answers. If you get a chance to just throw those in the comments, that'd be awesome. All right. So with that, we'll let you wrap things up and give any closing thoughts, things that you wanted to say, didn't get a chance to say, and of course, where people can find you online or in person or whatever. So, Theresa, we'll let you lead off again with that.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed it here tonight. It's been great. You can find out more information about CNJFO at cnjfo.org or on Facebook. We have a very active Facebook feed. You can find out all the news that's going on there. You can join as a member. You don't have to live in New Jersey either. You can support us. You can also get information on DC Project at dcproject.info. You don't have to be a woman. You can sign up for a newsletter. We do need more women in each state to, step up and volunteer, and every state has its own little unit going on. So you can check out about that and either just, I want to get involved, or I just want the newsletter. So those are the two places to get more information. Thanks again.
Awesome. You bet. And thank you for all of the stuff that you are doing. And within your respective organizations, please let the rest of the people that are in the trenches beside you day in and day out, let them know that they are appreciated. Even out here in the flyover country, we're glad that you're there doing what you are doing, because you inspire some of us to step up and do some of the things now that we're doing. So we appreciate it.
That's amazing.
All right. Tony, we will let you go next. Any closing thoughts? And of course, shameless plugs where people can find more of what you're doing.
All right. Real final thought. Yeah, you give me a 5-year term as a general, I'm doing Presidente for life. I'm never stepping down. El Jefe. Yeah, you can find me at Simon Says Train on Facebook, on YouTube, and you can also find me at Simon Says Train on Instagram. DiversityShoot.com is where you can buy swag and actually help not only support my advocacy, but the largest LGBT Second Amendment group in the country. When I love t-shirts from Aaron Paulette that helps actually Pink Pistols and Operation Blazing Sword. So that's being funded by t-shirt sales that we do. Our next diversity shoot is coming up on the 24th of this month, next Wednesday, and it's going to be at Recoil Range in Monroe, New Jersey. Tickets are available in all of my social medias, so you can pick that up from Eventbrite. So we're fighting a good fight. We have 4 different ranges throughout in Pennsylvania, and we're bringing people together, introducing them to firearms, introducing them to the Second Amendment. CNJFO is one of the volunteers, and they continually have supported us since 2015. Back bringing in volunteers to actually introduce people to firearms. So that's how you can help when you help with our mission, help with our funding, help pay for food, because I provide food at these events, and also ammunition. When I can, I actually provide ammo or at least subsidize some of these guys. These guys are doing like 200 to 300 rounds of ammo an event, and we're doing 2 events a month. So yeah, we could really appreciate any help you guys. We have people send us donations, drop it off at the range. Anything you can do to help us fight this fight, we really appreciate. And thank you for having me on the show. I mean, I knew Theresa was going to be on, so I knew she could do all the heavy lifting, and I can just be comic relief.
Tony's the best hype man ever, though, isn't he, Theresa?
Yes, Tony is the best. We are just so blessed to have him here. Believe me, he's wonderful.
That's awesome. All right. Well, let's go back over to our regulars here. Travis, any closing thoughts for you, and where can people find more of what you do?
Yeah, just seeing what's going on in Jersey. I just hope that maybe people will wake up and realize that their rights are being violated and they need to be active to maybe stop this from happening. Maybe they just think, oh, I was just denied because I didn't qualify, when really there was an injustice that just happened there, and they didn't even know, So I think awareness is huge. I think people need to understand that they
Nebraskans there, but for the grace of you voting goes us.
Yeah. So anyway, no, great discussion tonight. Shameless plug, just type in Travis P11 on YouTube. You can find my channel and search me up on Google. I'm on multiple platforms out there, and we'll be doing a podcast on Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Central Time over on my YouTube channel. So thanks for the invite, man. It's been a good time.
You bet. Thanks for being here. And Defense Dad, we will, of course, let you back clean up as we always do.
I think it was a good discussion tonight. You guys have pretty much said what needs to be said. As far as me, summer vacation's over. Kiddo's back in school, so I will be back both in front and behind the camera and releasing a video on Tuesday. Haven't put one out in a couple months. I also have a poll out on my channel if you guys want to check it out. I'm looking for some video ideas, so check it out.
All right, go over to the Defense Dad YouTube channel and then find the community tab.
Yep. Right?
So go vote in the poll. I did. It's easy. If I can figure it out, you can figure it out. Trust me. So go check that out. And let's flood that poll with some results. So Defense Dad gets to feel like we actually care. I mean, to let him know that we actually care. That's what I meant to say.
Well, honestly, I took almost a 3-month hiatus after Thunder on the Prairie. I didn't do anything. I spent the summer doing stuff with the kiddo. Now she's back in school, and I got nothing to do during the day. So video time.
There you go. Perfect. All right. Real quick, I do want to again thank Garrett over at Open Country Firearms in Osmond, Nebraska, for letting us go live again on multiple platforms here. So make sure you go to opencountryfirearms.com and check out what Garrett has there. He's again, this isn't his first business. He's got a full-time job, plus he's moonlighting now with the gun shop. So if the website doesn't get updated exactly as fast as you want it to, be a little patient with him, because there's times of the year as a crop insurance adjuster that he gets busier than other times. But go check him out on social media too, Open Country Firearms. That same logo that's up there in the top right corner of the screen if you're watching on video. If you're on audio only, watch on video. There you go. Come catch us live on YouTube or Facebook, or go check out Spotify. Even on the replay side, you can watch the video now on Spotify. So go check that stuff out. On the Facebook side, I didn't see very many comments come through on Facebook, but I did have a couple people I can see that you liked it. So Donita, my what are you, second cousin? My cousin Donita liked it, and then Jeff, Glenda, Peter, and Michael also threw some thumbs up there on the Facebook side. If you're watching on Facebook, please hit the like button along with the share button. Hit that thumbs up. I really like that on the Facebook. That tells Facebook that you want to keep watching these. And if you do it on YouTube, same thing. Lets them know that you want to keep seeing these. Up there in the YouTube comment land, we had Kingpin, Sam of Anarchy, Justin Yermuth, Irish Wristwatcher, Simon Says Train, Jeff Moeller, Travis P11, Gun Websites, Defense Dad, Squiblo, DJ Play Nice, Blitz, Justin Graham, Keith Gregory, and Gunpowder Beauty just sneaking in before the buzzer to get some comments in there as well. So thank you very much, all of you out there in the live chat with your comments, your questions, and very, very huge, warm welcome and thank you to Tony and Theresa both for taking part out of your night. I understand it's an hour later where you are, so I really appreciate you staying up late to hang out with us. We do understand it's not as convenient for you over there on the East Coast of the world, so we get it. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. On behalf of Theresa and Tony and Travis and Defense Dad, and of course Sandhills Sweetheart and myself, and Liberty Bell, who was really, really energetic tonight. So we didn't let her be in here. She would have just been more of a distraction than what I wanted. So she's out there waiting for me to go spend time with her. I got to go do that. We're going to have to go out there to the lawn. So you guys know what you got to do. We'll see you next week. For right now, get off my lawn.